All right, dancers, so summer intensives are coming up, and one of the big things that we see at summer intensives as far as injuries are concerned are jumping injuries. So this can happen for a lot of different reasons, but there's a lot of things that you guys can prepare to make sure you're ready to return to jumping safely, especially if you've been training at home for a year, but even if you've been in studio, we want to make sure we're ready for the increase in the amount of jumping that you're doing at summer intensives, okay? So the first thing you can do is make sure your body is ready to absorb the shock when you're landing from a jump. So one of the best defenses against this is making sure that all the joints in your body are in the right place. When your joints are in really good alignment, the shock absorbs straight through the joint, and that's what it's made to do. So of course, this goes for the whole body, but let's talk about the ankle. So in your ankle, you have a bone called your talus. Your talus bone is square, and it's really dense. So it's built and made to really absorb the shock quite well. So your talus bone lives in between your two ankle bones, your outside and your inside ankle bones. So when you're thinking of where should your weight be when you're landing, try to imagine that you're trying to position your weight maybe ever so slightly forward of that outside ankle bone. So if you had a skewer, it's going straight down through the middle. So one of the things I like dancers to start doing is just practice a plie in parallel, standing on one leg. So you can go ahead and stand on one leg. Again, make sure your weight's not too forward over your toe or weighted back on your heel. Try to find it right in the center of that talus as best as you can. And first just see if you can keep that and do a plie. The other thing that's really important is that your ankles are not wobbling in or out, and your knee is ideally tracking over your second toe. Then if you feel like you're doing that well, you can add a small jump. So I'm going to try to push through that same position, through that kind of cupping part of that front part of that heel, and I'm going to jump, add a small jump, and see if you can hold the landing for 2 seconds. So ideally you're pushing through that heel in order to get the glute to come on, and when you're landing, this is really important. Make sure you're not seeing any wobbles on the ankle or the knee. If you're seeing some wobbling in the knee, I have some tips for you. So 2 things to kind of look for. There's a shimmy in the knee, and then there's a big quick fall inwards. If you're seeing that shimmying when you're landing, that's usually an indicator that your inner thighs aren't supporting you well enough. So feeling gently, just a little bit more inner thigh when you land is going to be really beneficial for that. If you're seeing that quick fall inwards, that's usually an indicator that the glute med, the muscle in the side of the hip, is not working well enough. So feeling just a little bit of work there is going to really help with that. Okay, the next thing that's important to focus on is make sure the right muscles are propelling you into the air when you're jumping. So a lot of times as dancers, we can overuse our feet to try to get us up in the air, and we're not doing enough work in our big glute muscles. So one of my favorite ways to train this is you can have a bar or chair in front of you, but you don't have to. You're gonna bring one foot in front of you, make sure your heel is right under your knee, and your back toes are tucked under. So keeping the whole sole of the foot down, having equal pressure through the inside of the heel and the 2 outside points of the ball of the foot, you're gonna see if you can feel your front glute work without leaning forward or shifting side to side. See if you can isolate the movement in that front glute and bring yourself up to this kind of kneeling position. Now, feel the glute and keep it working for you as you slowly lower back on down. So it's that push through the front glute that's going to take you off from your jump. And then we also want to work on the control of our landing, so we're not just quickly falling down. So that's one of my favorite exercises for the taking our off part of the jump. Okay, the last thing to think about, and this is something that a lot of dancers don't even think about when they're thinking about their jumps, is do you have excess tension in your upper back. That's really common among dancers, and that could be another reason why your body doesn't have a good shock absorption system. So a good way to unwind the upper back is I like to do circular cat stretches. So what you can do is you can take one hand in front of your left. You're going to round through your upper back as you twist your chest to the right. Then you're going to twist your chest to the left, and then you're going to come forward. So what this kind of circular motion does is it gets the muscles of the back to start sliding and gliding around each other. Be careful, this should be a gentle stretch. We're not tugging super hard. We're just getting our body to move and kind of glide around. So those are my tips for how to prepare yourself for the additional jumping that you might be doing at a summer intensive. Make sure your joints are in good alignment so that they can absorb the shock that happens when you come from a landing. Make sure the right muscles are doing the right job at the right time, and make sure the rest of your body is prepared to absorb the movement. All right, if you're going to a summer intensive, have a blast. Let me know if you have any questions, and make sure to subscribe to the channel.